Like the Wi-Fi is slow today, Gavin. Gavin. Like the Wi-Fi is slow.
Wi-Fi code?
No, I have the code. It
Yeah.
seems like it's slow.
Oh,
Any problems with the Wi-Fi?
no, normally it used to be slow because there was just was dragging on it, but that's why they took it out of the house and put it next door,
Okay,
so it wouldn't drag on it.
okay.
It could be just, this is the highest traffic of Wi-Fi
Oh.
in LA is, from the hours between 6 and 8.
Yeah.
People are home.
Need a couple of pieces of paper again.
Yeah, just a little, middle, no, middle.
Little down here. Why don't you-
Oh, middle, I'm sorry, middle this way.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Middle all the way. Yeah.
Normally we have a couple of copies of the agenda, but.
Oh, I read it all, and nothing is close to me, I just kind of wanted to catch up with what's going on with you guys.
I see, I will, just a second.
Try that again. Hi, Teresa. I'm
Hi,
in my
Laura.
car office.
Pardon me?
I'm in the car / office outside David's house because he's out. Please don't sit in here. Okay, fine.
We have a guest with us.
Okay.
Hi Laura, it's Karen McGackie.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Well, ill.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm staying away from apparently everyone, including David, which is
Well,
why I'm
you
in the
know,
why I'm in the car. Anyway, perfectly comfortable.
I've done many of Zoom meetings from my car.
I haven't tried it yet. Anyway, thank you for coming to our meeting.
I just wanted to catch up. I hadn't been to one in a little while. And the HPOZ meetings keep getting canceled, so.
Yeah. Huh. So apparently your HPOC meeting is not canceled for the next time because I just got copied on an email about an agenda item.
Oh, okay.
Teresa, also, I have the owl and the stuff from Amazon.
Yes, I saw your note on that,
Right.
but I'm no longer participating in that,
No,
so
I understand.
I'm moving all the documents into the folder right now.
Okay.
Hi, Steve. Hi, David. Hello, everyone.
So Teresa, the architect and the land use representative will be here for 1828 here, meaning on Zoom, and they'll need to have sharing co-hosting.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there is a phone in number, if there's a phone in, would you provide it?
I can do that, Jean. Do you have pen and paper?
I have pen, I have paper.
I have
Okay.
it available. I can share it on the screen, Jean. Do you want me to just give it to you, or would you like to see it?
Me verbally.
Okay. 61669 900 6833. And I'll give you the meeting ID number.
No, this one.
Okay.
9.
Hi, how are you? Good, thanks.
That doesn't
Yeah.
look like a phone number.
She started over. It's 1669, Jean.
Oh, 1669
Right.
9006833 and okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Lawrence King.
You're welcome. Hi, I'm Teresa.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Lawrence King.
Hi, Lawrence. How are you?
Great. And you?
Good, good. Are you here about a particular item or just?
I live in Jefferson Park,
Okay.
and I was talking to one of the ladies when they had the festival on 8th Avenue,
Yeah.
and she told me to come to the meeting and speak my concerns, which is the sidewalks.
Okay.
Yeah. Every thumbs up?
Yeah. Jefferson Park.
Okay.
It's 7 o'clock. Laura, do you want to get started? The lady who's in the car,
Sure.
she has COVID or sick. She's our chairperson, so
Okay,
that's who you talk to?
that's one of the
Right.
ladies.
Okay, so yes, we can start. If you want to give me co-hosting, I can share the screen with the agenda, or you can share the screen with the agenda. Either way, you're sharing the screen. So, my name is Laura Myers. I am the co-chair of UNNC's Planning and Zoning Committee. And welcome and call to order is at more or less 7 o'clock. So what we do at this committee is we first review our standing rules for committee stakeholder voting participation, and we do introductions and then voting affirmations. So basically, UNNC has a system of committees where we appoint our chairs and co-chairs, but otherwise our committee members are those who are present that evening at a particular committee meeting, including this one, the Planning and Zoning Committee, but they have to be a stakeholder. So what is a stakeholder? It is anyone who lives, works, owns a property, attends a church, as a kid in school, it is a teacher at a school, other kind of, you're involved with things here, but if you're declaring a community interest stakeholderness, that community organization needs to be a 501(c)(3), which is a charitable nonprofit, and it needs to have a brick and mortar presence within the boundaries of UNNC. So we'll start with me. I am a stakeholder. I live in Angeles Vista. Tonight, I actually don't intend to vote because I feel like I'm going to end up going off video. And one of the rules of the AB, whatever it is that a board member be on video. But I have a feeling I'm going to end up off video tonight. So I probably will not be voting. Teresa, can you do the around the room people? I can't see everybody.
Sure. We're going to start with Lawrence.
Lawrence King, Jefferson Park, homeowner. My concern is about the concrete,
No, we're not doing general comments.
I have it, Laura. I got it. We're just going to identify yourself as a stakeholder, which means that you can vote if we have anything to vote on.
Okay.
So yes, he's a stakeholder.
Hi, I'm Karen McGackey. I live in Kenny Heights on 24th Street. I'm a homeowner.
Thanks. David?
I'm David Murray. I live on 11th Avenue and I'm a stakeholder.
David Safer?
Good evening, David Saffer. I am a resident of Jefferson Park and I'm a stakeholder.
Why is he blacked out?
Because he's choosing not to be on camera.
Okay.
It's his choice.
Just ask.
Yeah. Steve?
Steve Peckman, Jefferson Park, stakeholder, and I will vote if there's anything to vote on.
Raphael?
Stakeholder, live on Jefferson Park.
Caesar's iPhone?
Hello, I live on Jefferson Park and I'm a stakeholder.
Eris? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
You actually said it correct. I'm a stakeholder as well. I live on Jefferson Park.
Okay, great. Jean?
Jean Frost. I am the Vice President of West Adams Heritage, involved in preservation advocacy, and we are very concerned about ED1's effect throughout West Adams' various communities. Non-voting stakeholder.
Okay. Marina? I'll come back to Marina. Donna?
Hello, West Adams Avenues. I am a stakeholder and would vote if needed.
Mark? Mark Bettoni?
Oh, sorry. Yes. My name is Mark Petoni. My office is in West Adams area, but however, I'm not a stakeholder.
Okay, thank you. Marina, I saw you come off of, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on. Thank you. My name is Marina. I live in Jefferson Park. I'm a stakeholder and I plan to vote if necessary.
Thank you. Eric Zumwalt?
Yeah, Mark Batoni is our architect. We're working on a project on Western and Washington, and I'm not a stakeholder.
Okay, great, thanks. And call in with the last four digits, 2526. Yeah, we were unable to hear you.
Yes, I'm finally unmuted. My fingers got ahead of myself. Jim Childs, not voting, not a stakeholder, board emeritus, University Park HPOZ.
Okay, thank you. And then Kay Winbush. Kay, we're identifying ourselves right now as community members who have the ability to vote. Are you a community member or a stakeholder? Kay? Okay, I suggest we move on, Laura.
Yes, so the next item on the agenda, and do you want to post that agenda again? Thank you. So basically, the next item on the agenda will be general public comments, and that is on any topic which is not on this agenda. And then we have 3 items on our agenda, plus a follow-up, if any, to other cases. So the next item would be, we've been requested to support. Apparently I'm in a line of everybody can see me and they're talking to me through the back window. Sorry. UNNC has been requested to support a new community comment letter regarding the case at 2075 West Jefferson Boulevard. Item 4 is an update and then a possible community impact statement or letter regarding 3812 West Adams Boulevard. And there is now a council file for this topic. And item number 5, which is probably the longer meat of this meeting, is case number CPC 2024 and so on, a project at 1828 Southwestern. And then, as I said, if there is any follow-up to previous cases. So, excuse me, general public comments, please raise your hand. Excuse me. This is why I'm alone in a car. So, does anybody have a general public comment? I know we do have one.
Yes, Lawrence does.
Lawrence, Jefferson Park. We have a problem with the walkway. The the trees are lifting up the pavement, tearing up the driveways, the walk path on several streets throughout Jefferson Park. And the city says they're not responsible for the sidewalk or the curb. So if they're not responsible for the sidewalk or the curb, who is responsible for the trees? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have the answers, but thank you for the comment. Steve Heckman.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Lawrence, for that comment. I share that concern about the condition of the sidewalks in Jefferson Park. And I would like to ask the chair that we make this as an agenda item at the next meeting so that we can discuss how UNNC can support the community in terms of facilitating sidewalk repair in Jefferson Park. I've been trying to look into it and been dealing with the city on this and the HPOZ, and I can personally say this is not an easy process at all.
I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better at public safety, since it's a safety issue. And that's a question I can answer.
I think it should be on planning. I agree with Steve.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I want to add to that. I just don't know how to raise my hand on my phone, but I would like to add also the alleys on Jefferson Park. I'm a stakeholder as well, but we've been having a lot of fires in Jefferson Park lately. I want to say 4 in the last year. And especially in the alley, they've been catching a lot of fire, the brush fire. So also cleaning up the alleys.
Okay. So we're capturing all of this in our recordings, and we will, because I also think that's a bit of a separate issue, but it's not an unimportant issue. Can you tell us if it's human set fires typically, if you know?
I don't know what caused the fire, but I can tell you that when I saw the fire, it was on one lot and then it extended in the alley because the alley had a lot of like bushes and it almost went onto the next, opposite side of the street. So the alley conditions are in horrible states that is catching fires, and same condition for the fire a year ago.
Okay.
I'll just say that in support of what Eris is saying, that that many of the alleys are overgrown and not maintained, and it'd be nice to have UNNC lead the way in terms of how to get the city to act to make the alleys not only safer but more presentable. Because then there's also vermin that are part of this process as a result of the overgrown alleys.
Okay. All right. Well, we have two distinct, but neither of which are, what am I trying to say? Two distinct issues, neither of which are obviously planning, but we're the only committee that's meeting right now that might take them under, take it under account. So we will bring that back at a future meeting where we can actually discuss strategies. Okay. David Sapper.
Yeah, just as far as the sidewalk repair, might be an interesting, if not frustrating, read to look at an LA Times article from September 1st. So only a few days ago. Basically it's entitled, "Need a Sidewalk Fix in LA? It could take City Hall 10 years if you're lucky."
Right. Well, I think a lot of us read that. So we're going to make this a discussion item along with the alleys on a future meeting. Okay.
Same thing with the trees.
It's actually 17 years for tree trimming. Yeah.
All right.
The trimming of those are 15 years.
I'm
just, all right, go right ahead, Laura.
Yes, I was going to say, is there any other general public comment? And seeing none, we are moving on to item 3, which is Steve. So this doesn't have to be too long, but do you want us to read the letter? I mean, essentially this action, should we take it, would be to recommend to the governing board tomorrow night that it adopt the letter which is drafted and in our agenda packet, and I'm assuming should be shared right now. A letter from UNNC supporting a letter that Jefferson Park United has already written. So Steve, if you could explain it, and then
Sure.
Either you or Teresa share the letter.
There are a number of people that weren't here a month ago. So maybe I could just briefly go through some visual aids if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
Whoops. In which case you need to be made a co-host.
Yeah.
All right. Just a second.
But if you can
I will do it quickly.
Thank you. I'm just worried that I'm gonna drift off into the ether. I don't think I'll make it till 9 o'clock.
We will continue on without you.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much, Steve.
It's we'll miss you. Can everyone see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay. So this item is about the planned construction of a 6-story building at the Burger Palace site at Arlington and Jefferson. Just want to say from the start that the folks in Jefferson Park stand second to no one in support of housing. We believe that all Angelenos should have access to high quality housing. For those of you who don't know the site, this is it. This is the intersection of Jefferson and Arlington. This is the parking lot that will also be part of the site for the building. This is the building in context with the neighboring houses across the alley, which are single-story houses. The proposed building is a 6-story solid cube with limited transitional height in the rear to the alley. There are proposed 100 units, and it's 100% affordable housing. So the issue here is that when construction like this occurs, principally in an HPOZ, is there's 2 types of review that are allowed. There's standard review where it goes through planning and through the HPOZ board and other entities to make sure that it meets with all of the community standards that have been approved by the city. The other kind of review is ministerial approval. So the standard review, as I said, goes through planning, the Jefferson Park HPOZ, and has to comply with all of the elements of the South LA Community Plan implementation overlay. Ministerial approval is something that was created by the state legislature, in this case, giving developers by right administrative approval by planning. So there's no need for any hearings or any board meetings or anything else. There's no right to appeal an approval. It waives the California Environmental Quality Act requirements. And all of these things are in place that are being waived to promote the overall health and sustainability of the community that reside, work, and have fun within the community plan area. So all that stuff is waived in the case of 100% affordable housing, which this project is. So what are the community concerns? The people who are going to live there are going to have critical quality of life deficiencies, including the standard open space reduced by 92% from 10,000 square feet to 836 square feet. Unit sizes are very small. Many of them don't have closets. Parking is reduced to almost 90%. I think this is wrong. It's not 12 spaces, it's 17 spaces for 100 units, which are from the size of a single to 2 to 3 bedrooms. Tree reduction is pretty serious, and is essential respect for neighbors that's lost here. So in order to achieve the 100-unit density, the developer seeks to reduce the standard setbacks to allow for the proposed building height 6 stories, more than 71 feet high, and the massing of the proposed building is out of scale with the adjacent single-story houses to the north. You saw the picture of that. The historic 1 to 2 story streetcar commercial buildings to the east, west, and south of the proposed project. And it's inconsistent with the zoning, which is called for a very limited height district, no more than 45 feet. So this building will result in permanent cast shadows on all the neighbors directly to the north who are in single family housing, and will reduce drastically their quality of life. So on July 23rd, this ministerial approval happened. The proposed project was submitted, and one of the city planners approved it. And they approved it with a bunch of bonuses that allow them to do all the things that they would like to do. So as part of that approval, the planner said that the developer had to, the city has to ensure that the developer is in compliance with the objective planning standards for the South LA Community Plan Implementation Overlay, CPIO, and with the Historic Preservation Overlay Zone, HPOZ. And this means that they have to demonstrate that they're in compliance with objective planning standards pursuant to the LA Municipal Code Ordinance 184903. What's an objective versus subjective standard? A design standard that involves an objective standard is a design standard that involves no personal or subjective judgment by a public official and is uniformly verifiable by reference to an external and uniform benchmark or criterion that's available and knowable to everyone. So objective standards are things that are black and white, right? So it's either true, false, it has a count or a measurement, it has ratios and calculations, lists, scorecards, etc. Subjective means the standard says you should or may want to do these kinds of things. Less concrete, less black and white. So what does the HPOZ law say? So when someone wants to create a new building within the HPOZ, either on an empty lot or through demolition, the new building must comply with the HPOZ law as well. And that law says that the new design or construction shall be, so it's an absolute objective standard, shall be contextually compatible with the massing, size, scale, architectural features of nearby structures within the HPOZ. So these are external and uniform benchmarks, right? Shall be compatible. So what are the facts? We support affordable housing. We recognize that increased housing density is critical to addressing the housing crisis. It'll increase efficient utilization of city infrastructure, creates critical mass of households to support small businesses, and it increases public safety by reducing travel distances, ambulances, fire trucks, police cars, etc. So the density of Jefferson Park is incredible. Jefferson Park has more than 23,000 people living in 1.5 square miles. It's among the largest population densities in the city and county. The Jefferson Park HPOZ provides significant density at a human scale. It was originally designed that way and demonstrates that there can be density that meets the HPOZ laws. The LA Municipal Code requires new housing to be built to the massing scale in our HPOZ. The proposed 6 stories is out of scale with the overwhelming majority of buildings in the HPOZ, which is dominated by 1 to 2 story buildings. Of the more than 2,000 buildings within the HPOZ that's been designated by the city, there is 1 building of 5 stories and 4 buildings of 4 stories. So that means less than 0.25%, or 0.25% of the buildings in the zone are 4 or 5 stories. The HPOZs in Los Angeles account for less than 3% of all buildings in the city. This is a very small share of buildings. Yet, we're expected to have the burden of addressing the housing crisis. The affordable housing crisis is not because of HPOZs, and it should not be solved by destroying HPOZs. So what we are asking is that the UNNC Planning and Zoning Committee recommend to the UNNC Board to stand with our community and send a letter of support to Planning Director Vince Bertoni and Principal Planner within the Office of Historic Resources, Ken Bernstein, and to CD10. So that's the request. The letter I can share. Let me call that up. Where's the letter? Here it is. So here's the letter. It's dated September 6th, which would be the day after the board meeting. And it's addressed to Bertoni and Bernstein, and essentially says that UNNC expresses support for the letter that Jefferson Park United sent on August 20th, which makes all the points in the slide presentation. As indicated by the city planner who approved the project, condition number 15 requires demonstrated compliance with the objective planning standards of the Jefferson Park HPOZ pursuant to ordinance number 184903. We claim that the project as approved by Mr. Irving does not comply with the letter or intent of the LA Municipal Code, and we go through the reasons why, essentially reiterating what's in the slide presentation. The people in the community of Jefferson Park and all Angelenos should have access to high quality housing. The project should be planned and constructed in a responsible fashion that demonstrates respect for the intended residents and the neighbors, resulting in improved quality of life for everyone. Such respect includes compliance with the letter and intent of the municipal code, the HPOZ ordinance, and the Jefferson Park Preservation Plan. There's a picture of what will occur. The object does not comply with the letter, spirit, and intent of the objective standard within the code, meaning that the construction shall be contextually compatible with the massing, size, scale, architecture features. And then we go through what I just ran through with you, the number of buildings within the zone that have, and it's all verifiable. You could query the city databases such as ZEMAS, examine the LA City approved Jefferson Park survey, view the HPOZ using web-based tools such as Google Maps, or visit the HPOZ and actually go look at the buildings yourself. You could do any one in combination or singularly, and you will find the same data that 4 to 5 story buildings within the HPOZ account for 1/4% of the total. Oh, and so one of the hiccups here is that it could be claimed by the city that this objective statement within the municipal code only applies to HPOZs without city-approved preservation plans. Our position is that clearly the city council felt that this objective standard was important for all HPOZs and so called it out, and that it would be inapplicable. The preservation plan, if it's deemed inapplicable because it's viewed as too subjective and therefore not applicable in ensuring per the LA Municipal Code that the design and construction shall be contextually compatible, then the Jefferson Park HPOZ should be considered as it did not have a preservation plan at all, right? If it's absent this requirement, then actually the plan is absent one of the major requirements the city requires by law. And so it should be all HPOZs should be held to that standard. So that in sum is the letter. I'm happy to address any questions or comments.
Okay. And if you could stop the screen share, please.
Sure.
Okay. I see that Jean has her hand up. Anyone else with a hand up? And also 7:28, and we do have two other items, so I'd like to move on to a motion within 10 minutes from now, if possible. Jean?
I think that was a really excellent presentation, and West Adams Heritage is thoroughly in support and urges that UNNC take action. I am completely gobsmacked that someone would assert that because you have a preservation plan, the overall guidelines of the ordinance do not apply. That is completely nonsensical. And perhaps, Steve, in a sidebar later, we could share who on earth came up with that completely unsupportable opinion. As a former HPOZ board chair and one active in helping create West Adams HPOZs and the University Park HPOZ included, and the creator of the second preservation plan within the city of Los Angeles, that is utterly nonsensical, and it makes no sense. The ordinance is a broader jurisdiction and representation, and then it's based on the Secretary of Interior standards, and the preservation plan is based on those standards. So it is an enhancement and enrichment of what the ordinance requires. So I'm very surprised at that, but I think I want to praise the work that's done and urge that UNNC move forward in a positive way and support this.
Thank you, Jean. Jim, callers 2526.
Yes, Jim Childs again. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your efforts thus far, and I hope that you finish the job and get this sent in. It seems like the obvious choice to do. This unfortunate edict by the mayor and the ramifications by really gross, negligent interpretation of that is a killer for the HPOZs. If this is allowed to stand, then there is no purpose to an HPOZ. And therefore, they need to quit the whole program and admit their failure. We are supposed to be engaged in protecting historic resources, not going out of our way to deliberately destroy the contextual element of a community. The idea of HPOZs is to gather as many buildings as possible that represent something of significance. And you cannot alter the interior or exterior perimeter of that without an impact. The guidelines were established to help people understand the Secretary of Interior standards. That's all those are. And if you're familiar with that, it's very general and talks in broad philosophical terms, but the specifics are issued forth from time to time in the memorandum. And it's a simple, obvious look at your picture. You have a 1-story building and a 6-story building. It doesn't fit. And in this case, you must convict, not acquit, because this is going to undermine all the investment capabilities and confidence to put any money in an HPOZ when you cannot count on waking up with your neighbor still there and now wake up with a 6-story building. It will come honest. I've been doing this for a really, really long time, and we've been fighting against intrusions because they are unfair to everybody else. And you cannot award a single developer or multiple developers special rights without any kind of an appeal or without any kind of process. Denying the people in our communities the right to appeal these awful decisions is unconscionable, and we are in the process of trying to find some methodology to do exactly that. And I can guarantee you, if we can find a way, we will hopefully proceed with that. But in the meantime, everything that you do to support the HPOZs as a neighborhood council and raise your voices loud and clear is extremely important. So thank you on behalf of the other communities that you are neighbors with, because your leadership is going to be very effective. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Jim. David?
I'd like to make a motion that the UNNC Zoning and Planning Committee recommend to the board of the UNNC their support of the letter drafted by Friends of Jefferson Park, HPOZ.
I second. You want to call for the vote, Laura? Any further discussion? If not, then let's go ahead and call for the vote.
So Jim and David, could you take your hands down?
Oh, sorry. If I remember how to do it. There it is. Sorry.
And Steve, I'd just like to remind you that the letter is from Paula Southern, the president of UNNC. Right. It won't be from Laura.
Right.
Great. I was just mimicking a previous letter. That's fine.
Go ahead, Laura.
Right. So, well, Jim's not voting anyway, so he may not know how to get his hand down from his phone, but we won't count his vote. All in favor of this motion, please raise your hand digitally. Raise your digital hand.
That's right.
And then if you're in the room,
I'm trying to raise my
real
hand.
hands. Okay.
I'm doing it both ways. Count me twice.
Yeah.
I'm with David.
Because
I'm trying to raise my hand, but I don't know how.
Click on React.
Okay. Just keep your hands up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Keep your hands down.
7, 8, 9, 10. And who would that say? I don't know.
I figured it out.
Feedback.
Okay. Well, this motion passes. Motion passes.
Everybody can lower their hand.
Okay. Am I the
Thank
only
you.
one
I
hearing?
like to thank everyone. Thank you on behalf of Jefferson Park. I really appreciate your support.
Okay. Is anybody hearing feedback at me?
Laura's phone.
Yeah, it was. I muted whoever was on the iPhone. I think that was the problem.
Okay. All right. Next item is basically it's about 3812 West Adams Boulevard. And this is a proposal to build another ginormous ED1 project. It's also had a letter of compliance written. This one would involve, among other things, a waiver of the 40-foot by ordinance building line, which I haven't seen before on these. I haven't seen that waiver before. The one on Gramercy Place kept the 40-foot setback in. And it also failed to account for the fact that this is in the Adams Boulevard Scenic Highway, which is designated as a local scenic highway in the city's mobility and transportation element. So Councilmember Heather Hutt has done a motion at City Council to re-review the circumstances and the letter of compliance to take, they basically want to not let the city planning approve this. The motion does not mention the two things I just mentioned. It does not mention the scenic highway, and it does not mention the waiver. In the original ED1, so not the one that's been revised, but in the very original ED1, it stated that basically if a project requires waivers like this, they would not even be eligible for ED1. So we have a motion from our council office. I think, personally, I would recommend that we support it, but ask that they amend the motion to include the 40-foot building line as a requirement, and equally important, how demonstrate compliance, which they won't be able to, with the scenic highway, Adams Boulevard Scenic Highway. So, Teresa, did you have more to say about this?
No, I have no further comment than I made in the past.
Okay, Steve?
I move to recommend to
Steve,
the, yeah.
We have a comment in the room.
I just have a quick comment because it directly affects me and all of my neighbors. I think one thing that's not addressed at all is the parking.
Yes, they can't address the parking.
Oh, they cannot?
They are not able under state law to address the parking.
The only way to kill the project or to change it fundamentally is to act on those things that are allowed by law. The state legislature has already deemed these types of projects exempt from parking requirements.
Which is how on the last project, we got 17 spaces for 100 units.
Right. We're not fighting the parking, we're fighting the size and scale and massing of the project.
In the specific locations that they're in.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So yes, I would fight the parking all the way, to doomsday, but it's not going to do us any good. We have no legal footing to stand on with that.
Okay.
The same way with the other project, we have no legal standing to claim that the size of the units is too small for human habitation.
Right.
So I would like to move that this committee recommend to the governing board that it support in no uncertain terms Councilmember Hutt's position and do everything possible to ensure that any change to the scenic parkway fits within all the requirements of standing as a scenic parkway.
Raphael?
Well, first we should ask, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Raphael, you had your hand up? Or not? Okay.
And I would just recommend that we have this letter prepared for the board for approval and to be sent out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do I raise my hand? I'm sorry. May I raise my hand?
Sure, Jane.
I think this is an extraordinary challenge. It's really important to support Heather Hutt on this. And I urge this body to act because this will help everybody within West Adams and other districts. It's really important. And to get this from the council office is extraordinary. And please move this expeditiously. It really matters.
Right.
Great. Thank you very much, Jean. Okay, so Laura, you want to call the vote?
Yes. So if all those who are in favor, please raise your hands. And this time I'm going to do a better job of counting. So there's four in the room.
Favor of sending a letter.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3.
And if you're on the computer and looking at the Zoom meeting, you can raise your hand by clicking on React, and then you'll see a raise the hand button.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 4. 9 plus 4 is 13. I have 13 in favor. Please
And
take
3 in the room.
Yes, I got those. Please take your hands down. Is there any opposition? Well, I need your hands down. Marina, I need your hand down.
I don't know how to use these.
Click on React at the bottom, and then you can lower your hand.
There we go.
Okay, is there any opposition? Okay, motion passes. And Teresa, I did hear you about getting this written up for tomorrow, which I'll try desperately to do. Okay, we have the next item. And I'm not going to be able to call out loud the case number, but Aaron, I see that you're here. You are representing several people who are here, but let me hang on a sec. Okay, it's case number CPC 2024-4576 DB, which stands for density bonus, PR, which I don't know what it is, HCA is Housing Crisis Act, for a project at 1828 through 1830 Southwestern Avenue. And this is on Western Avenue, a new 7-story, 224-unit multifamily building, including 34 affordable units, over 1 level of commercial, has 175 parking spaces. And essentially, it's an AB 1287 density bonus project with off-menu incentives. They have taken a previous version that I'm going to guess is not very different than this version. They have taken that to the Harvard Heights HPOZ once before. This is a new project, which Aaron will explain, or someone on his team will explain. So Aaron, or I guess Eric or Mark.
Yeah, so it'll be myself and Mark Bettoni, the project architect, and Mark will have some images to share. So I don't know if it's possible to promote
Yes.
us.
Teresa,
Yes.
can you promote them?
Yes, I am. I'm doing it right now. For Mark?
Mark Bettoni, yeah.
Yes.
Sure, thank you.
So who's going to talk first?
I will. This is Aaron Belliston, and yeah, I don't want to repeat too much what Laura Myers has gone through, but this is just a slightly updated version of a project that many of you may have seen previously at one of our 2 prior consultation meetings with the HPOZ when we were working on the design. The state then came out with AB 1287, which was an update to the density bonus program. And the project was modified to capture elements of that density bonus update. So the total project count is 224. As Laura stated, there will be 34 affordable units. The project will seek off-menu incentives and really not seeking much by way of relief from the CPIO or from the CCMP process. The project is located within the Harvard Heights HPOZ on a site that is a non-contributor. For those of you familiar with this block, this is where the car wash is visible from the front of Western. And with that, we'll go ahead and get into just a presentation on the project itself, and then can move to any questions that you may have. So Mark, if you want to walk us through it, that'd be great.
Sure. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Bettoni. I'm the principal of Bettoni Architects, and we're excited to share this project that we hope will contribute meaningfully to the Harvard Heights community. Our firm has experience working in HPOZs, including a project just down the road at 3101 Western in the Jefferson Park HPOZ that was approved. So this project will provide a mix of market rate, low and middle income apartments, addressing a critical need for diverse housing options while staying sensitive to the historic character of the neighborhood. We've designed the building to specifically respond to the commercial infill guidelines of the Harvard Heights HPOZ, ensuring that our design will both respects and enhances the community's identity. So I guess first we can kind of start with the architecture. So Harvard Heights is filled with historic styles, Craftsman, Colonial Revival, Spanish Colonial Revival. Most of those, for the most part, I would say, are probably residential in scale. But however, we draw on kind of inspiration from these traditions while ensuring that this project offers a fresh and sort of a modern perspective, while not necessarily pandering to the past. For instance, we have a regular window pattern and vertical proportions on the facade, and these kind of mirror the rhythm of historical buildings nearby. Ensuring that our design maintains a dialogue with the neighborhood's established architectural fabric that's been sort of already sort of set in place. So our building, it responds to HPOZ guidelines. It incorporates in a sort of an identifiable base, a middle, and top, which are important in breaking up the scale of the structure. We have a 2-story brick facade at the street level, which helps the building visually relate to the lower scale contributing buildings nearby, particularly those buildings that are over on western side, which are kind of 2-story in nature. And so then, let's see, I actually have a sort of an illustration of how that line gets kind of pulled across. The idea is we have this red dash line represents kind of this 2-story sort of urban fabric that's kind of typical of the neighborhood. And then also we have this other line which kind of references the Ross Plaza building, neighboring building as well. So the idea is to kind of relate to some of the existing urban fabric. We only have one building that kind of sits between us and the corner. So we're kind of pulling at a lot at that point. Let's see. So the one thing is, so I guess additionally, we've added that cornice line at the 6th floor to further reduce the visual impact of the 7th floor, which I know is kind of a concern for the neighborhood. Let me go back to this other image so we can kind of stay on this one. Got it. So in terms of material, our design, it draws on historical buildings that have been used, commercial structures in Harvard Heights. So we have sort of the brick base, as we mentioned, which is set at the 2 stories. And as we move up, the upper floors, they kind of become a little bit more clean and modern while incorporating another cornice line at the 6th floor, which we talked about. Our design also responds to the guidelines for storefronts and entries, which emphasizes and maintains street level interest for the pedestrians. On the ground floor, we've incorporated large expanses of glass, recessed entries, and traditional storefront features that create a welcoming and hopefully a more engaging environment for pedestrians. So the ground floor facade is composed primarily of transparent elements to promote the openness and interaction with the street. And we've ensured that the primary entryways are clearly marked with architectural details such as transoms, upper story windows, and they're regularly spaced in sort of the punch style windows that the HPOZ guidelines look towards for architectural standards. In terms of functionality, we've pulled the vehicular entrance down a common easement is between here and the Ross Plaza building adjacent. So it provides plenty of queuing space for cars that are entering and exiting onto Wilshire Boulevard. And this ensures a smooth traffic flow while maintaining a more pedestrian-friendly street presence, kind of pulling it into one specific right-of-way. And additionally, the ground floor retail spaces activate the street and they contribute to the vibrancy of the neighborhood in line with the guidelines in the commercial infill. So and I kind of ran through this because I thought there'd be a lot of questions. So in closing, we've designed a project to provide a combination of market rate, low and middle income apartments. And we're trying to address a broader spectrum of housing needs in the Harvard Heights community. At the same time, we thoughtfully tried to respond to the HPOZ guidelines for commercial infill, and from addressing the scale and massing to using appropriate materials and providing a pedestrian-friendly street level, we believe this project reflects and will enhance the neighborhood's historic legacy while meeting its modern needs. And I guess, I don't know if I formally asked for any questions, but that's the end of my presentation.
That's what we do, Mark. Thank you very much. Steve.
Thank you. I have a number of questions. The first one is, do you have a picture of how this building transitions to the neighborhood behind it?
We have a section. Actually, we don't have a photo. I can provide.
Does it transition or is it a solid cube?
It does step back. However, it does become very solid. What I can do is, let me see if I can show you.
What is the height of the structure closest to the houses behind it?
The height of the structure.
Yeah, how many stories? So
Behind
behind this proposed development, you have houses, right?
No, we actually have apartment buildings.
Okay. What is the
I believe that's 2 stories.
Those are 2
3
stories.
2 stories?
2 stories.
2 stories.
2 stories. Okay.
Correct.
Stepping back to the apartment buildings behind it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what's the distance between that 2-story transition and the apartment building?
Sure. So we have a 25-foot setback.
Okay. And what does it look in terms of light and shadow for those people that are living behind this structure in the apartment buildings?
In this case, we haven't done a sun study. I would imagine this would be, let's see, in this case, this would be western facing. So it would be. Pardon?
So it, from the top story, you have it going down to 2 or 3 stories. I'm sorry, which one was it? From 7 to 2?
From 7 to 2. That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, a light study might be important here because these people in the apartment building may lose all their western light. Is this approved by the HPOZ?
This has not gone for a formal hearing at the HPOZ. That'll be
okay.
Case was recently filed and is working its way through.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions and I'll stop. You talked about how the 6-story cornice reflects the Ross building, but I don't recall a cornice in the Ross building, is there?
So my point of that was that the cornice that's on the 6th floor is meant to sort of reference that, and therefore the 7th floor gets stepped back and has a different materials to sort of reduce the impact at the street. So we're referencing the Ross building by pulling the cornice at the top of the 6th floor.
Okay, I don't know what you mean by referencing
the
a building
height.
that doesn't have a cornice.
Referencing
So
the height.
I'm not saying referencing the height. Sorry.
Oh, I
Is that
see.
okay?
Okay. Yeah. And
This
then
is this is what this line here is meant to pull across.
Got it.
Is to kind of
Got
show
it.
that is trying to reference that.
I thought you were talking about design, and I couldn't figure out how that cornice reflects anything in the Ross
Technically,
building.
that is a cornice. I would say that that's like a 6-foot tall cornice. No,
Okay.
Good or bad.
So then my last, I guess it's a comment, which is I object to you talking about historic preservation and compliance with the historic plan as pandering to the past. I found that to be a really objectionable remark, and that we don't consider it pandering to anything, but respecting the history of our neighborhoods and the culture and the people who once lived here.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I wouldn't call any of that pandering.
No, Steve, I think more what we meant by that is that when doing historical infill projects in a historical is that our goal in new construction is not to try to mimic or copycat the past. Instead, as Mark really elucidated, was pull out those dialogue cues from the architecture to make the new construction and fill work fit, as opposed to be a Disneyland or the Grove type revisionist history of what's already been done in the past. So it's really paying homage to what's been done in the past and elevating the neighborhood when new projects are being proposed in an infill manner. That was primarily the goal, not anything other than.
No, and it's not to be disparaging. So I just want to understand.
Exactly, yeah.
First of all, we have projects that we're working in downtown Charleston, South Carolina. So we're working within a historical context, and that's something that we actually enjoy as an architectural firm. Exactly what Aaron is alluding to is like the idea is though that we're not necessarily trying to replicate something and copy it in a Disney sort of fashion. The idea is that we're supposed to sort of take it, analyze it, and try to come up with something that respects it and at the same time like talks about a new sort of a future within that. I don't think that's.
Thank you. I'll just say that using the word pandering to the phrase pandering to the past is quite insulting, and you might reconsider that in the future.
That's fine, but I thought, well, in the context, the way I said it, I thought it wasn't clear, but I apologize. That's not the way.
Okay, we have a question in the room.
I'm just curious, what are the projected market rates for, and what are the sizes of the apartments? 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom? What do you expect the market rates to be, and therefore what would be the affordable version rates? And how would those apartments be different for the affordable rates?
Yeah, so the market rates will be determined by the going rate of the market at the time that they come on. I don't have those studies in
You don't
front of
have
me.
any projections?
We're on the design side.
Must have projections.
The affordable rates are all mandated by law. So those can be found in schedules 1 and 6 of the LA Housing Department's land use schedules. So let me just grab a schedule 6 here to give you an idea. For the low income units, 1 bedrooms would be 1,110. A single would be 971. This is under the current schedule. They get updated annually. So those are all set by law and established in those schedules. And so the 34 set of units would follow that methodology and managed by housing.
Is there a size and materials difference between the affordable and the market rates?
No, again, by a function of the law, they have to be within 10% of the average size per unit type. So all of your 1 bedrooms get averaged, and then the units are specified and deed restricted with housing's oversight and material finishes. Everything needs to be within 10%. So in economies of scale, there's not going to be really any functional difference whatsoever. It doesn't really work to go in and all of a sudden introduce a different unit or a different material type for the 30 remaining units that are scattered all throughout the building.
And what, for the size of the units again? I mean, how many bedrooms? How many
Mark, can you
two-bedroom?
go to your cover sheet so we can just take a look at the breakdown there? And zoom in. I think we have let me just see, we have a summary table here that has the unit counts, I believe.
Sorry. Which piece are you looking for?
The number of each unit type. I just want to zoom in on it here so everybody can see it at the same time.
Let me find that piece. Apologize. Let's see here.
How about I take another question while you guys are trying to find that?
Sure.
Okay, Jean?
Good evening. I wanted to urge the neighborhood council to not act upon this until the Harvard Heights HPOZ board has reviewed and has its expertise utilized in making what is a very attractive building at this onset. But the HPOZ board, as the experts in interpreting the plan, really should have some hands-on discussion, with the architect and with Aaron Belliston. Hello, it's been a while. Really, the HPOZ board should act and rather than get into details about cornices and some of the things that could be spoken about. But I would urge the council to defer to the Harvard Heights HPOZ board before taking any action. Because I know as a neighborhood council member, it is tremendously helpful to have the people that are designated and seated to interpret a plan guide you and take action and make a recommendation. And I think it's premature for the neighborhood council to act before the HPOZ takes some action and has meaningful dialogue with the architect and with its representative. This is not an unattractive building. I have no problem with pandering to the past. Being a member of West Adams Heritage Association, And I know Charleston has a wonderful integration of the old and the new, which I hope to achieve here. But again, I really think that the HPOZ board should speak to the plan and how it conforms before any further action is taken. I think the brick base is very good. I would urge that the setback and cornice maybe be after the floor lower, but this is all detail. I really think you need to hear from the Harvard Heights HPOZ board to take effective and community supportive action. Thank you.
Great, thank you for those comments, Jean. Jim?
Yes, Jim Childs. As a former HPOZ board member and a neighborhood council member, I certainly want to affirm Jean Frost's comments. I know when we're having our neighborhood council meetings, waiting for the HPOZ or the DRB to make comment has always proven to be far more beneficial than trying to have discussions between the board members about architectural detailings and personal points of view. You know, the process is full of all of us who get to make comment, and it's hard for architects to distill that because they can't please everybody. But they certainly need to please the HPOZ board, who's applying the standards to this project. I support putting the height on the main arteries, but a 7-story building seems certainly out of scale to me. But I'm unfamiliar with that section of Western. I haven't had a chance to preview it for any serious comment for tonight's meeting because I did not understand the scale of this project. So I would hope that you will defer to the questions I would ask and will be asking the Harvard Heights board if they're on a Zoom meeting with this project, because 7 stories in our community, as it used to exist, has no comparative. So when you're fitting in contextual statements, you really can't say that it fits. I don't know the building that's next to it, when that's originated. I would assume it's a non-contributor to the HPOZ, so it doesn't even count in terms of apples to apples. So it's your apple to the rest of the context that I am concerned about, and absent a decision, you've had 2 meetings, but you haven't really said that they are in favor of it or not. You're just waiting for some clearances. So I expect that you have to go back possibly with some changes, and if this is your final, I think they needed to see it first. So those are my thoughts. And
okay, great. Thank you very much, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, I think Jim and Jean kind of covered similar topics that I was going to. I do think that Harvard Heights needs to review this first. It's premature for this board to take any or make any comments, I think, at this point, which may be in conflict with what the HPOZ board comes up with. So I think we need to wait till they're finished with it. And that's where my feeling on it.
Okay. Let me jump in here. You might have noticed on the agenda, it doesn't say action, just says discussion. This is like a consultation. We're not taking an action tonight.
Right, but to give any kind of input, which then they may take as okay, we need to do this because that's what this board says, and then they go to HPOZ and they go, wait, we don't want that. I think it would be premature to us to give any input into it at this point.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that because I think sometimes they're mutual. But I was going to say, and the other thing to remember is that when our South LA community plan was updated, this section of Western was basically designated for 8 stories. So this is only 7 stories. So there's other planning madness in this situation. That's all I can say. I did attend the HPOZ meetings where this was presented, and the design we're looking at is different than the design they took to the first consultation. So it doesn't mean it won't change again, but this design we're looking at is the result of the consultations with the HPOZ board. So, it's up to you guys if anybody else has any comments about design or context. Erin, the one thing I was gonna remind you, because you've heard this before, and I think everybody, your team did, the Ross Plaza complex, which includes the tall building to the left and the building we can't see on the rear, essentially was the first and largest medical complex owned by African American doctors, west of the Mississippi or maybe in America. So the context of this is part of African American history. The other original building, which is where the car wash is today, was torn down to make way for a car wash. So these are not considered in the HPOZ preservation plan as contributors. If Harvard Heights HPOZ had been established a little bit later, likely the building to the left, the Ross Plaza, would have been, because it's an iconic building. So the standards have changed. But at the time the HPOZ was established, it was basically only designating buildings that were within a period of time and not other buildings outside the period of significance, which themselves were iconic. So there's been a lot of discussion at the HPOZ about that as well. So I don't know if the EIS has been updated for that. Erin, that's a question.
I also have a question for Mark when we get done.
Yeah, so let me just answer a couple things real quick. First, for the unit counts, there's 100 studio units, 84 one-bedroom units, and 40 two-bedroom units. And we have that on our cover page, but it's not broken down in that way. So I just want to give you that summary: 100 studios, 84 ones.
Erin, what size are the studios?
Well, they vary. I don't have the unit size in front of me. Mark, do you have some of those? You can zoom in on that table. I think has footages. No. Yeah, calculated areas. So there you can see a kind of a representative sampling. 2 bedrooms can be 890, where a studio could be 487, 429. They vary somewhat, but like they're, at about 400, some are just slightly below 400 and up. Okay. So they range. And then, with regards to the African American context study that was done, we did go back and do a very comprehensive analysis of the site in tandem with the Office of Historic Resources and the folks at the Getty that were responsible for putting the survey together, and did a detailed report there to get to some deep understanding on the site as a whole. So that process has been ongoing and will continue as we move forward with our CCMP hearings. We have done the consultations like Laura had mentioned, so there was quite a bit of feedback on the design from the HPOZ. Our goal in getting here tonight was just to begin making the board and the committee aware of the project and to start that outreach. We weren't aiming to finish that outreach in one night. So it's kind of just an overview of how we got here. And Laura, did you have another specific question that I didn't get to, or?
No, but I was also going to make a comment in terms of the mix of the affordable units. Isn't it true that the housing department will just tell you which ones will be the affordable units?
Ultimately, they do. We're very familiar with their guidelines. So when we put together our table of units and submit everything, we've pretty much been able to denote which ones they'll take. But they absolutely review that and ensure that it meets all of the requirements. They have to be, spread evenly throughout the building. They have to be the appropriate number of each unit type and at different locations, et cetera. So, and then they have to meet the minimum square footage requirement that's based on that within 90% of the average. So yeah, the requirements are specific enough that we can typically identify those in advance, but they verify and make us change when it's not correct. They're very involved in that process prior to them preparing that covenant and agreement that will run with the land for 55 years, and then get that, authorized by the city attorney and then executed. So yeah, there's quite a process there to make sure that whole thing is managed well, and housing does a good job with it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Question in the room. Go ahead.
Aaron, if the job is permitted, how much of the work will be local hire?
This is a privately funded project, and currently it does not appear that there'll be any local hire on the project.
You.
Okay, I can't see if there are any other hands. Mark, can you stop the share, please?
Sure.
7 units.
Yeah.
That's a lot of apartments.
Well, Teresa, I had mentioned to Aaron that you might ask a question about trees.
Why don't you go ahead and do that, Laura?
Well, then I'll ask the question about trees. What kind of trees are you planning on this project? Well, not just the street, not just the ROW, right of way trees, but are there other trees spread throughout? Somehow, is there an open space?
Yeah, there is. Let me see if I can get to my landscape plan. Hold on one moment. And I don't know if there's any other questions while I'm pulling that up, but.
Because as you saw with our discussion on the other project, there was no open space on the other project. So how much open space is there on this one?
Well, in total, the project will have just over 17,000 square feet of open space. One of the off-menu incentives requested is a 26% reduction in open space. So that'll be from 23,400 down to the 17,240. And we do have a comprehensive landscape plan, and I'm just having trouble getting it loading right now, but sorry, bear with me. I would answer it off the top of my head, but when I do that, I mix up my projects, so I apologize. All right, so currently there is, we have quite a bit of plant material called out. They are only calling out at this point in time 2 24-inch tip-yew trees. However, that is likely to be adjusted as we continue moving through some of our early planning review processes.
Only 2.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean.
And
well,
that's
no.
on site. Of course, anything that'll be required by urban forestry along the streetscape would be in addition to that.
Teresa, do you know off the top of your head what the tree requirement is per unit?
No, I don't. No, I don't, Laura.
Okay.
There are open space, the open space section requires 1 tree per 4 units. We're looking into the site. Oh, Mark, do you want to zoom in on that? If that's.
I'm actually sharing.
I think we did that.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to zoom in the count there, you'll see that. But there's some additional trees. I might have opened up an older set as I was pulling this on the fly.
You guys can share the document if you want.
Sorry, Mark, do you have that open in the set that you were in? If not, it's okay. I'll get to it. I just need 1 second.
Sure.
All right, there we go. My apologies. Sharing.
Do you have hosting ability, Aaron?
I gave it to him. Donna, you have your hand up? Donna, would you like to ask a question while we're waiting?
Yes. Did I hear 24-inch tree?
That's
Make
correct.
that-
Yeah. They'll be on the interior of the courtyard.
And the other question, is this the historic medical building site, if I'm correct? Can someone tell me that?
Yeah, that's correct. So the extant Ross Tower is to the north of the site. This is at the car wash site with the phase 2 medical building at the rear of our site. That's correct.
And you're saying that there is no requirement for local hire for people to work on that particular site?
In terms of union labor, no.
Well, union often means diverse labor. So that's my concern right now. I have an issue with that for sure. I don't know how far and how long we'll be involved with this, but that's something that definitely needs to be adjusted. I don't care whether it's private or not, but union is definitely, I'm looking for a diverse labor force at that site in particular, because there's a reason for it.
Yep, absolutely. We can take a look at that. But yeah, there are no plans currently for union labor, but we have no opposition to a diverse labor force, absolutely. But we can look into that more fully.
And definitely local, because that particular site's important to our community.
Oh, certainly. Yeah, local in terms of geography, we also don't have an issue with. That benefits everybody.
So that's something that I don't know whether that's been addressed, but it needs to be.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, Aaron, so we see your site and
Yeah, sorry. So the plan had been updated. So this is including 9 of the California lilac trees in 24-inch boxes, coming in at 15 feet in height. So this is the number of trees that are on there presently. Again, not including anything that would be required in the public right of way.
right. And are those going to be in-ground plantings?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And if the ordinance is four trees for every one, that would be 56 trees. So
No, part of that comes
Have
from our
17.
incentives and waivers. So we're clarifying a few of those issues with planning right now, but so we can update you on that as we move forward.
okay, because if you can't get all 56 on the site, then there is an in lieu fee.
Yep. Yeah, and sometimes we're able to get them into other areas in the community where they're lacking as well. So there's a lot of different options that we're looking at.
Okay, Laura, any other questions?
I have none. Does anybody else have any other questions?
There are none in the room. I really can't see why we're sharing.
Yeah, so let's unshare again, please. Okay. Are there any other questions? Nobody's got their hands up. Okay, so we can move on quickly to.
So thank you very much, Aaron, and thank you very much, Mark, for coming. And I guess you'll go to HPOZ and we'll be meeting with you again in the future. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Right, and Aaron, when do you think you'll be at the HPOZ?
We're not sure yet, but as soon as I've got an idea, Laura, I'll reach out, let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the final item is, updates and new information. So I just wanted to let everybody know, if you didn't know already, the Wilshire Tow, so Hanks Wilshire Tow or S&J Wilshire Tow or Wilshire Tow on Washington Boulevard withdrew their application the morning of, well, that's not a good thing. Withdrew their application for the PA, Plan Approval 1, on their existing conditional use permit. Still trying to find out exactly what happened at the planning department. But as near as I can tell, the planners at the zoning administration office told them that it was the wrong application. So they withdrew it, but then they have sent them off to building and safety for the building and safety to make a decision about, I don't even know what, but that doesn't sound like a good path for us. and then to the CPIO unit. And I don't understand it at all because the zoning itself does not allow this use on the on the expansion. So that's the update on that.
Okay, so just, we have a question in the room. Also, just before we wrap up, that we're going to have 2 letters. You're going to prepare 2 letters for the board to sign tomorrow to.
One letter is already prepared by Steve. One letter is prepared by David Murray, and you're saying one more prepared.
No, we're going to vote to support Steve's letter. We need to provide a letter in support of Steve's letter for the board to say, here's
the letter Steve wrote is theoretically for the board.
Oh, I see. Yes.
He drafted it at my request. He and also David Murray on a separate topic, each of them drafted letters for the board, from the board to approve, for the board to approve as from the board. So the only change on Steve's is who signs it, which is Paula.
Okay, so I'm bringing that up because if you're sick tomorrow, those still need to be presented. Also, Karen had some questions about some developments that we recently approved or supported. So she'd like to ask some questions about that.
Okay.
Teresa, before we get to that, I'll just offer that I'm happy to present to the board tomorrow night regarding the Burger Palace. And I could revise the letter, but I'll need to know what the vote count was tonight.
No, because the vote count is tomorrow night's vote. The letter that goes, we don't need tonight's vote count. Because it'll be the BAC, it'll match the BAC.
Got it. Right. Sorry, my mistake.
Okay, but that's great. Thank you very much, Steve.
Hey, I just wanted to check in about the building that's going in the L shape behind the hospital from 24th Street around the hospital and the new building out to Western. What's the progress on that? Is that still happening?
An entity appealed it. I'm not sure who, but it was some union related entity appealed it, and I do not know where that is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it looks like nothing's happening.
Well, because I think it's in appeals.
Oh, okay.
So I just
is there a way maybe at the next meeting we can have some information on that?
I can follow up.
Okay, and then we're also going to do a follow-up, or at least put on the agenda about the sidewalks.
Yes.
And
the repavement.
And the alley.
The alleys, yeah.
Because they haven't repaved Jefferson Park streets in quite a while.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
They just do.
They just did that, the streets around here.
No, they
So
did.
there was a scheduled street repaving between Arlington and Western and Jefferson and Adams. It was supposed to be multiple streets. They only did one. And that was in the last month and a half.
Yes.
And they left notes on everyone's house saying they'll reschedule it at some point in the future.
Oh, okay.
Another question in the room.
This is kind of an off question. Are speed bumps allowed on major streets?
No.
Is that a no?
That's a no.
Okay. We can't count. No, I'm talking about the
Adams.
Adams.
Yeah, that's a no.
Again, if you put speed bumps on Adams, they be
Maybe
going.
there's an accident anyway.
I think we're good in the room, Laura. So
Okay. Assuming that we're all good, I'm actually not the person who can end the meeting tonight because I don't have the power, Teresa.
Okay, we are now adjourned. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I know it's hard to do that.
Well,
It's a lot.
Yeah.